How is everybody? Hello. I'm going to test the sound. Don't mind my over here, my nasty blinds. So what happens is Blaze at the bottom of these blinds, he likes to there's my sound. He likes to look out, and if I don't have those blinds pulled up, Blaze has actually done this, even though he's a little guy. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, Kimberly. Hi, Jason. Y'all can hear me. That's great. I think the sound is going good. Coming in a little late today. It was one of those mornings where I just was not going to be ready at 10 a.m. I needed more time just to get myself together. So, rolling in a little bit after the regular start time, I've got my tea here. This is the Earl Grey with bergamot tea that I like to drink in the morning. I always put some collagen in there and some fiber, some soluble fiber to kind of keep things moving. Because I'm a lady of a certain age, as you know. So we're going to talk. We're going to kind of settle in. We're going to kind of settle in a little slowly today. Just a few reminders to get us started. And welcome, everyone. So welcome to the community, especially our new subscribers. So people who have found the channel and are new to Creators on the Crest community, welcome. I hope you find time and space to settle into the YouTube Creators on the Crest channel and enjoy some of the readings. We've got quite a few playlists here. We've got playlists for every sign, every zodiac sign, and then we have a playlist for all the tarot lives, and we have a playlist for Real Life Mages podcast. And so there's lots and lots and lots of good content on here to check out for free and just enjoy. And, just sit with yourself and allow yourself that time just to process the messages that you get. Be sure to like, comment, participate. The more you participate, the better, right? The more the community thrives. So be sure when you're listening to videos that you put that thumbs up. That helps in the algorithms. It brings more like-minded, like-hearted people into our community. And of course, the comments also tell YouTube that you're enjoying what you're seeing, and it will then push it to more people. So I'm not doing co-stream today. I have been doing co-stream. That test is over. I helped YouTube test it, and I had the opportunity to interview with them and give them some feedback. So that was really exciting. I hope to have that feature on the desktop app. Like, I'm on the desktop app today. What I've noticed with YouTube too is they like to push the vertical phone lives more than they will the desktop lives. And I think it's because they are doing that new feature. But on the mobile lives, I have the wrong effect as far as like the images. Like when I hold these up, you see the words correctly, I believe, but on the mobile lives, everything looks backwards on the cards. I gave them that feedback. I said, for people like me who are showing images, or if anybody wants to pull a whiteboard up, it's going to look backwards to the audience. It'd be really cool to see the desktop lives be promoted as well as the mobile lives, and make it more enjoyable. Also, I feel like in this type of more of a landscape view, I can hold up cards on both sides and I have more space to do that. So that's kind of why I gave that feedback. So that was fun, though. It was fun to be able to test for them and be able to see what that was really like to co-stream. I love bringing people on. Honestly, it was a lot of fun. And I think it's something I will do when they bring that co-stream feature live. Yeah, it's really nice to be a part of the creation process, Kimberly. Absolutely. I think as a creator, and what I am a proponent for on my channel, being in the creative energies, right? As much as you can, being in your creative energies, I do feel that it's important. It's important to give that feedback and to have that connection with the platform that you're on. Nymira, that's a beautiful name. Good afternoon from the Netherlands. Oh, hello. Yes, I have been to the Netherlands long, long ago. I believe it was 1999, the last time I was there. I would love to go back and visit the Netherlands. I so enjoyed the flavor, the people, just the whole vibe. And I will say one little funny thing is, like, I felt like everyone there was very tall and that I was very short compared to them. So I did feel like a bit of a shorty there. I'm 5'4.5", but I felt like many of the people there in the Netherlands were very, very tall, and I was wishing I had a few more inches on me there. I don't know if that's true. I just found it to be true. I felt like I was kind of under under the average height there. But yeah, beautiful place. Would love to return. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining and for dropping some notes in the comments and everything. And yeah, so today we're getting into some really good stuff about intuition today. So I'm really excited. I usually go about 2 hours, just so you know. I mean, you can come and go. I know people have other responsibilities sometimes, but if you are just, bopping around the house and put your ear pods in, you can listen the whole time, and it's going to be fun. We're going to do a collective reading, and then we're going to do some breakout readings, and we're going to get into the clairs today, like the clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, all of that, kind of break it down and get some messages from the universe. We'll be using both tarot and oracle cards. And this is going to dovetail really nicely because tomorrow I have a video that's premiering. I think it's around sometime in the morning, around 10:30, 11, somewhere in there, Central Time, where I go into a specific reading for up leveling your spiritual gifts and your intuition. And so that reading turned out really cool. As I was editing, I kind of re-listened to it for myself, and it was really, really nice, very heart centered. So if you've been working on, calming the mind and coming into the heart space, I think that might be a nice reading for you to listen to. And then on Sunday evening from 7 to 8 Central Time, I know that this is PM, 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. I know that's not great for Europe because most of you are sleeping, but and I'll try to mix it up at some point where I do like a live Q&A, early. But right now we're established kind of in that Sunday PM Central Standard Time. And basically it's a live Q&A. The community comes in and you drop a question in the chat, and I do a little personal mini reading for each person, and I will go from 7 to 8, get in as many people as I can, as many questions as I can, and we just have a blast. The community is so supportive, so nice. I know Kimberly is there quite often, and we have kind of our regulars, and then we have new people stopping in. So the best bet is to come in around early and drop your question in right away, and then I will be sure to get to yours. But I do that every other Sunday night. So if you miss one day, you can come another time, and it's so much fun. We have a blast at that time. All right, so those are just some good things to remember about the channel. Just a little intro there. We're gonna get into a collective reading here. So let me get myself the little timestamp here, and we will get going. Now, Blaze, the Morkie, my little dog, is outside with, I have, like 5 other people in the house right now. So he's out hanging with them. You might have heard him bark in the background. He won't be in here today making an appearance because where I am, it's the front of the house, and he likes to peer out and bark at anything that moves outside. And so we're going to let him have his space with the other people today, and we're going to proceed in here. I'm also sitting. So where I live, it just got really hot and humid, and the air quality plummeted. And so I have the air conditioning on and I'm literally like, there's a vent like right here to help keep me cool while I do these readings. So I tried so hard to keep that air conditioner off for so long because I prefer to just have the windows of the house open. That's something I loved about when I spent time in Europe. We were able to keep, the window. I feel like windows were always open and a little bit higher, is that longitude? And so didn't get quite as steamy, boily as it gets here. But we oftentimes, where I am in Kansas City, in Missouri area, we get higher humidity sometimes than Texas and Arkansas, which is crazy. But sometimes our humidity is just really ugh, and it just is kind of depressive, I guess. I don't know. Kimberly, you know what I'm talking about, right? And when you're a woman of a certain age like myself, and you have tend to have hot flashes, it's no fun. So you need that cool air coming in on you, and it just helps. But yes, we did spend quite a few months, the past few months, having the windows open. It was quite nice. All right, I'm going to start off with tarot cards today for the collective. Usually I do all oracle cards, but today we're switching things up a little bit. So, yeah. All right. We're just going to kind of see where our energies are at, maybe what we need to focus on. We're coming off of a Scorpio full moon, right? And I was like, leading up to the full moon, I was like into it. I'm like, this is good. This is like rebirth, transformation. And then the like day after, my energy just dropped like midday, just like I don't know what it was. And then I was listening to one of my favorite astrologers, and she was talking about how Venus is still in that like retrograde shadow and it's finally going to come out of it. But that the Scorpio full moon bumping up against the other astrological aspects was causing any resistance that you have in your beingness to kind of come up and um, be like on the surface. And so any parts of you that are meant to be moving forward with something that maybe you haven't done that needs to be a priority, you kind of bump right into it. And so I think that's what's happened with my particular situation. And maybe some of you have felt a little bit of resistance. I do think it's going to lift, but when you hit that wall of energy, you're like, oh, where do I go from here? And it doesn't always feel good. So let's just kind of see where the collective's at right now. We've got a couple major arcana cards here, and then in the middle, a couple of minor cards. So there are some big energy themes going on right now. And the first one is the Justice card. This is connected to Libra energy, right? I think I definitely do feel this on like a level of the collective, in the sense that, let me give an example. If you're watching like a true crime show, for example, um, somebody's done something bad and wrong, and you're like, get them, find them, get them, lock them up, like, please don't not let them perpetrate a crime on another person, right? And so there's a lot of that energy. Like, true crime stories are very popular. And I personally, with my sensitivity level, I have to be careful. I can watch them in, little bit a little bit, but if I would sit there and like binge watch true crime, like, I'm like, whoa, I almost have to like clear my system. And we don't get enough like true good news, do we? We get a lot of the bad stuff. But that's connected to this Justice card, to wanting to see justice for situations that are anywhere ranging from just imbalanced in an unhealthy way to like tragedies, right? And legal matters, right? Where things get a little heavier. Namiria says, or Namira, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Venus is also separated from the conjunction with Saturn. Yes. And Saturn is I almost wanted to say dictator, but usually I call it the drill sergeant, because it kind of like is making sure you're aware of anything in your shadows. It lets you know, right? So, yeah, this justice energy comes in and it lets us know, hey, if you're not feeling like things are clearing at the moment, and if you're tuned into a lot of the collective energies, whether by choice or you just find it in front of you, right? Or you just have a very high sensitivity level, we are looking forward to maybe some clearing here. And I like this. The Justice card, the character holds the sword of truth. And this is an acknowledgement of truth prevailing. So this could be a truth prevailing in your personal situation, or it could just be you seeing things come to light. And I think that's also part of the astrology right now is a lot of the things are unable to be hidden anymore. And a lot of these kind of shocking truths are coming to the surface. So we may be dealing with this energy. And Ashley is here. Hello, Ashley. Welcome, welcome. And you may also want to look for the Libra energy in your chart. Sometimes when these themes come up, if they are connected to an astrological sign, I will mention it. And then it might be a good idea to see if you have any aspects, Libra energies, or I believe that's seventh house energy as well. So seventh house placements or Libra energy might be something good to look into. But this is a big sign of clearing, and I like that. It feels good. I think it's going to open up communication in partnerships because we got the Two of Cups next. I think once we understand the truth of something, and this could even be in relationships that are maybe a little bit more long term or older relationships where sometimes we don't know when we're going through the emotions with a person exactly why they're doing what they're doing or what's going on, but something then comes to light later on, and then we have a better understanding of why the person behaved a certain way or why they might be doing something right in a certain way. I do like that as the truth is revealed, the balance in partnership and communication and partnership is what I'm getting as well. It comes into a place that is more heart centered. So these two individuals are holding their cups, their chalices, and they're at the position of the heart space. And that had a lot to do with up leveling our spiritual gifts. The reading that I've done that premieres tomorrow, up leveling the intuition when you already have it in your template. Some people's designs and just the way they're made up, like if you think of the people in some of the true crime, some of the psychopathy, right? They lack the intuition. They lack the ability to have this true and clear communication with others. And if you're tuning into my channel, you're probably someone who's quite sensitive. You probably have witnessed that in yourself, in your own relationships or others, right? And when you are dealing with someone who is completely out of touch or lacks intuition, that can really be a recipe for an unhealthy relationship and an unhealthy balance. And so, normally that would really concern me, but I feel like something is coming to light. For those of you listening, something is becoming more clear, something is becoming more understood, and or we're seeing it also in the collective realm. Like if you think about some of the garbage that's being cleared out as far as actors and celebrities and things like that who are now being held accountable for their actions. So there's heart matters here, and also I get the healing vibes that it extends into. And we have the lion head up here, so it's beautiful, passionate energy of we're passionate about the truth coming to light. We want the truth. I've had this discussion, I know, with you, Kimberly, before, where we do not like Kimberly and I both very sensitive to being lied to because we already know if you're lying to us. We can, watch shows and things. We can tell when people are lying right off the bat. Like it's just part of our clairsentience, our claircognizance, right? And I think some of you have those gifts as well. You have that perception. And so then when somebody is being dishonest with us, and they're not putting all the cards on the table so that we can practically actually move forward with some solutions or some way of navigating the relationship, it's usually a deal breaker. It's usually a deal breaker. So perhaps some of you are up leveling this requirement or need for yourself in your closest relationships, because the Two of Cups is about closest relationships. So being able to be in the partnerships and relationships with others where the truth is being told, where things are being clearly communicated, where you know what's going on, and not just from your intuition telling you, but the communication is backing up what your intuition already feels, because many of us have gone through patterns with other people where we're being lied to, and it's a very disappointing energy to be in. It's a very hurtful energy to be in. And even though we understand that sometimes those people are lying to themselves, right? They're not being honest with themselves, they're not being truthful with themselves, so they're incapable of being honest with us. There's also our need to have that be a valuable part of our lives, and to have those that are in our inner circle operating from a place of clarity and coming from the heart space, and not from comparison, judgment, expectation, lies, deceit, dishonesty, that kind of an energy. And so the universe is also showing us here, and this is a minor arcana card. So I feel like it's an energy that we have moved through, or we have the ability to move through it pretty easily, is this Five of Pentacles. And so sometimes, what I'm really getting this time, this card traditionally is about abandonment, being left out in the cold, being shut out, ostracized, that kind of. But today I feel like a bit of gaslighting. And I know that's a buzzword and a catchword, but that is what I get here. So some of you may have been experiencing, particularly in partnerships or relationships, being gaslit. And before the term was even coined, some of you were experiencing it before the term even got popular. I know I did in some early, more toxic relationships in my life. This feels like a gaslighting to me. So some of you may want to just, scan your energies, scan your relationships, and really see if you can find that energy imbalance, or that you can sense that, where that might be. This also happens in the workspace, though, and the Pentacles is about practicality and finances. So this could also represent you feeling taken advantage of, like financially, or some sort of scam or deceit along those lines with the Five of Pentacles here. And that's kind of what it feels like. It's like someone's intentions don't match their words, and it's with the intention of shutting you out, leaving you out, gaslighting you, making you think you're the problem, that kind of thing, right? So there may be some of this energy to clear out. Fortunately, it looks like it is going to clear out. We have the Wheel of Fortune here. It looks like the energies are clearing it out. And, there's the Pluto energies right now. Pluto has moved into like the fixed signs, right? So we've got Aquarius, we've got Scorpio, we've got Leo and Taurus energies here. And where the fixed signs, you can say fixed, ooh, they're immovable, ooh, they're stubborn energies. And yes, that's true at times. But sometimes once we have the truth, the fixed signs can come in and say, yeah, and we're going to anchor this in. Now we're going to weave this into reality here for you, right? with the fixed energies, and they can really bond it and ground it for us. And that's what I'm feeling is happening here. So some of you may be going through relationship clarifications, cleansings of certain kind, really vetting out when someone is being untruthful with you. It's more than just reading their body language. It's more than just seeing beyond the words. You're really sensing from like a full body experience, right? The Wheel of Fortune comes in and says yes, and we're going to strengthen and lock in and ground this energy for you. That's how you're turning, that's how you're evolving with these awarenesses, which is beautiful. That's a beautiful way to work with these energies. And with Pluto kind of in its new position here, having come out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, it's a unique time for us to focus on this. And I love how the astrology weaves its way into things. And of course, the specifics of your life will present in their own unique way with their own unique characters, but there's themes here that we can benefit from being aware of. So also for the collective reading, I'd like to pull a card here from the Rose Oracle. The Rose Oracle is beautiful, gentle, graceful. It has the potential to really deliver powerful messages, but in a softer way, not as rough around the edges as some of the other decks, but it still packs a punch. Ooh, and this one came out for one of my up level readings as well. Come to me, it says, and this is about opening yourself up to receive. And to me, in this particular reading, this is receiving the greater power of your intuitive gifts, talents, and abilities, receiving the greater power of your spiritual awareness, of just knowing that you know that you know. No one even has to say anything. I feel in this card, it does say receive abundance and it says desires, and you're attracting like a rose. And I do sense here too that there's an enrichment or an enriched state that you're moving into. I feel from an intuitive level, there is an increase in potency in your ability to sense things. You might describe it as I can feel more now, or I see more now, or I understand more now. And part of that, right, is from doing the shadow work that many of you are doing, the healing and the shadow work. So you're kind of letting things come up and out, releasing, moving on from mistakes of the past, forgiving, that kind of cycle, right? So there's that's going on. But this then says, guess what? While you're doing that, you get to open up and you get to maybe tap into some of those attractive energies that only you hold, that are unique to you. And every rose is different. There's different colored roses. There's different tones to the roses. The petals unfold slightly differently. And so there's a uniqueness here that also wants to be expressed here. But this is an opening and maybe even feeling safe to open up to these things, to your desires. We oftentimes have subconscious energies and patterns that are connected maybe to ancestry and fear from our ancestry, our bloodlines, societal pressures and brainwashing that would kind of quiet like our natural sense to step into our gifts, talents, and abilities. And so sometimes we fear our own greatness. We fear having that desire or that dream or that wish come true. We fear it subconsciously, even though on the surface, our conscious self is like, of course I want that. Of course I want that raise. Of course I want to go on that trip. Of course I want that. And so not only do we have to deal with the reality of the outside world, the external world, the financial systems that are in place, right? Wherever we are. But then we have our own self. Like energies in our own self that have to be released. And I think working with roses, or if you have like rose hips, you can make tea, you can make like a tincture or a spray for your room. Geranium and rose are really good friends. So those oils are kind of popping out to me. I know rose oil, pure royal, I can't even say it. Pure rose oil is really expensive, but geranium sometimes, and or there'll be blends where you can get a little bit of that kind of effect, right? Maybe buying yourself some roses and treating yourself and loving on yourself a little might be a good thing, or just observing someone's beautiful growing blooming rose garden if they have one. Just a really nice energy. Yeah, roses have the thorns, they're going to teach us, but I think here we're talking more about the petals opening up, the bloom, the blossom of the rose here. And that's the energy that it feels like you would want to find yourself in. And also, it's hard to see, but we have a little bee right there. And that would indicate to me the pollination and regeneration of life cycle, and just really enjoying some juiciness, enjoying stopping and smelling the roses, the finer things, and it doesn't have to be in every situation. You can find something very small and just enjoy that, right? Take a moment to enjoy that and see how it helps you open up. All right, let's get a card to close off the collective reading from the Shaman Stream Oracle here. Highest and best message for our creators. Woo, oh boy, I might have to get two because I have never pulled this card out of this deck before. It's a number 19. Or 1 + 9 is 10. I think I know what's happening here, though. We got falling angels, spiritual narcolepsy. So what I'm kind of sensing is that there has been a real collective tug and a pull into practical manners, and matters, maybe. Sometimes I say things incorrectly, but they end up being appropriate. The manner with which we're living, right, doesn't really have that embodiment of the spiritual senses. We're pulled into a lot of practical pressures. We're pulled into having to deal with work, time, finances, right? It's part of the density of the dimension that we're in, that we're existing in here. It's part of the challenge, it's part of the learning ground. But also, we can become disconnected from our soul and our greater being as we get focused in on that. I've been feeling a bit of this lately. Have you ever just sat and felt like, I just need to have a little space to myself and I just need to have a little conversation with me? That's what I feel I'm getting here with spiritual narcolepsy. It's like there's that part of me has been napping or asleep or knocked out because of the extreme focus on, we got to pay the bills, we got to get the kids to school here, there, everywhere, we got to do this, we got to do that. Kind of the requirements of life in the practical world have kind of pulled us. And so I'm actually getting an invitation, and it feels very Piscean to me. I'm feeling like a Pisces energy here of just like, come swim with us, come flow with us. Let's wake up from the spiritual nap. 1 + 9 is 10. That puts us into a completion. So maybe some of you have felt a little more spiritually disconnected than you would like. You would like more time to replenish your spirit, your soul, and you don't really get a lot of that quiet time with just you to just hear your own voice. And that's going to come out today, I think, in these breakout readings as we talk about the different clairs and the different ways of connecting into your intuition, because that doing that and taking the steps and seeing what we get here today, what the messages are, I think will give us an opportunity and maybe some clarity on how we can come more into the connection with who we are in our spiritual sense, in our spiritual being, in our soul nature. Ashley says, I'll be on and off today, headed out for a moment. I gotcha. I know it's Friday, y'all. It's Friday. People are coming and going, but I appreciate you dropping a comment and being here. So how did everybody feel about that? Kind of interesting energies there. I'd like to hear if, have you felt like maybe your spiritual gifts or your abilities have just had to like take a nap, or they've taken a back seat because you haven't been able to really get that time carved out or that space carved out for yourself. That, just that connection with your inner voice, with your inner knowing. And we're going to get into these. I'm going to get into defining the breakout readings today. Now, we're going to do 6 breakout readings, which I know sounds like a lot, but they're going to be little minis, kind of. I think it'll be exciting to kind of go in and then maybe leave a little space for you to explore further. I don't think this will be the last time we talk about the clairs or intuition. That's pretty much a theme of what I do. I'm an intuitive counselor, intuitive healer, and in all of the work that I've done with others, I think that one thing I would like to say about the different clairs that we're going to get into is do your best not to judge or compare. I had that happen a lot when I was teaching like in-person courses back in the day for the Akashic records. Some people would come out of an Akashic experience and they would have all these visualizations and brilliant colors and all of this. And all of that is wonderful, that clairvoyance, that's beautiful energy, that visualization of being able to see the energies and the stories in that way. But then I would always have a few people that were like, I didn't see anything, but I felt this way, or I think I smelled something, or, I was hearing something. And that's just as important. Those are clairs as well. Those are maybe your portal of receptivity with your greater being, with the universe, with creator source. And so one is not better than the other. They're just different ways of perceiving, experiencing, intuiting our world. So I just like to say, don't compare and be like, oh, I don't have that one, I wish I did, because you have exactly the intuitive gifts that you're meant to have in your lifetime to navigate your life. All right. That's an intelligent design. Okay. And so we don't want to get like jealous of someone else's, they've got this, but like I don't. It honestly doesn't matter which of these you have. And most people actually have a combination of these Claire's senses. Okay, so we'll get into that. Namira says, I'm taking my time. I cannot afford a party of my daughter tomorrow because my soul says to get rest. Yes. Yes. I feel that. I have been feeling that too. And I'm not in a position right now where I can be by myself. If you are, I would say definitely take advantage of that opportunity. But I know that coming early this next week, I will have some moments to myself, and I plan to have, just kind of be in that deep communication with myself. So I think it's important that we honor ourselves, because then when we do show up with other people, we can show up all the stronger and all the better. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, these energies are very interesting, and if you're a sensitive person, you're an intuitive person, it's especially important for you to protect your energy and feed your soul first so that you can then serve and be around, not even serve, but be present with. I'm trying to get away from that whole serving thing, because I think it gets a little hierarchical, hierarchical. you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like forces that kind of thing. But to be present, to be in presence from the overflow of a full cup. And thank you so much. I will get the space. Sometimes we just, we have to wait. Our schedules, people are around, children, mothers, visitors, all kinds of stuff is going on. So we just have to wait for that space. So today we're going to do the 6 breakout readings. We're going to go clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairgustance, which not as well known, and then clairalience. Okay, so we've got seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing, tasting, and smelling. Really, really interesting. I personally, with some of these, I've had very minor experiences personally. With others of them, I'm immersed in them. So, like I said, I think most people have a little bit, or there'll be different times in life where certain clairs are aligned up with their intuition and possibly even their astrology. So, let's go ahead and get into clairvoyance first because it's about seeing, it's about that clear seeing. It's that traditionally connected to like that third eye energy. So it's just that inner eye that you can see with. Yes, yes. There's smelling. Uh, Claire Clairalience, it's called. Yes, and it's the one I always forget. I have them written down here. And then Clairgustance is the tasting. So yes, there's even a smelling. Isn't that fascinating? But yeah, let's get into clairvoyance here. I'm going to start with tarot. This is only the major arcana from the tarot, the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, because I just want to get an overall sense of, for people who are working with visualization or clairvoyance, they know themselves to have that, or they're working on honing that skill or developing that. What do they need to know? What's the major energy that they're working with? Whoa. Ooh, we got Gemini energy, the lovers here. All right. So the lovers is connected to the Gemini sign. So that is very interesting. I wonder if some of you aren't having some communication with the universe in symbols right now, in signs. I do feel that for those of you working with clairvoyance, and so this would be visualizing, right? You can benefit greatly from a guided meditation. Relaxing yourself, relaxing your own mind, and letting someone else speak the meditation and the experience, like the invitation to go into the visualizations. Okay. So that seems like it would be really helpful for you right now because Gemini has that communication energy, right? It has the tendency to be mental, to be thinking, to be that mercurial energy. And so here with the lovers coming in, we have the opportunity to sink into the heart space a little bit more, quiet the mind. And we can do so by maybe listening to some guided meditations that are for visualization. So you can find these on YouTube. You could even make one for yourself. You could just record your voice talking through a meditation or something that would relax you. Perhaps you've traveled somewhere that you really connect with and it really relaxes you. And so, even just your own voice describing that to yourself, and then you can play it back as you relax into a meditative state. That would be good. So, Ashley's saying any recommendations on the guided meditation? I'm not going to recommend anybody in particular because I think when you go in to a search and you can search for guided meditations for visualizing, you can visualize, like, let's say you want to visualize money in abundance or you want to visualize peace and serenity, right? There's different things. I think sometimes it helps first. I know for me, sometimes it helps first to kind of go to different spots in a meditation or a video just so I can listen a little bit to what they're saying. First of all, the tone of the voice has to relax you and feel comfortable to you. If it's like, it could be a voice that's too boring for you, too monotone. It could be a voice that's too fast. You can also, on the visualizations, meditations, you can, on YouTube, I don't know if you guys know this, you can slow down the speed or speed up the speed as well. So you want to make sure that you choose a visualization meditation that you like the voice of the person talking, it resonates with you, their language, the language that they're using is good for you. I know sometimes I put them on and like I kind of go into my space and then I'll like wake up and they're saying something weird and I'm like, why am I listening to this? This is not the subconscious energy I want. So yeah, just take your time to kind of go into that. That's something on my list of things to do as I get better audio quality. I definitely want to do a series of meditations. So that is on my to-do list for sure. But I do not have any published yet. So I just suggest going. And sometimes there'll be like nature sounds. Nature sounds help people sometimes, right? Help you visualize. Or like if they're taking you on a journey, like you're walking into a forest, right? Or you're walking to the beach. A lot of times trees are used and different nature anchors to help anchor you in. And that will give you, you can start with the guided meditation, from someone else talking, and then you can make your own or explore your own way of doing it. So I think that would be really cool. I love that. I think the Gemini energy, this gives me, I kind of feel uplifted by this. I feel like maybe the energy is building here. And Gemini has the tendency also to remind us to have fun with it. Really fall in love with the process, have a good time with it. Okay, we are going to get into some oracle cards just because they're so much fun. So we're going to start with the messages from your animal spirit guides. Does anyone else feel like just when you need like a message or something, like an animal will make itself known, a bird or something, and it really, really, I feel like animals really can help. I think energetically that we have agreements with certain animals, with their certain species, and they make themselves known to us. And that can happen on a very individual level or collectively as well. I know here where I live, there are starting to be black bears that are moving, they're being seen in residential areas where I live. So in Missouri, down by the Ozarks and stuff like that, Branson, that kind of area, there's black bears there. But unfortunately, I'm sad to say, I think it's from their environment being destroyed and so much, just cutting trees and building houses, and the ecosystems get smaller and smaller, and it pushes the animals into these areas. And so black bears are now being spotted in the southern suburbs of Kansas City. Crazy. We're not used to seeing that. Now, if we lived in North Carolina, that's regular. They see, Asheville, North Carolina, you're going to see a bear, right? But is there something going on where Kansas City itself as a collective needs the bear medicine, right? Very interesting. I don't want to get too far off topic here, but just some different things to think about. Namira has that with birds. Ashley sees hawks, birds in general, but hawks are extremely, yes, go with it. Well, and as you ladies are talking about birds, we got seagull. I don't usually see those here. It's usually when I'm on vacation, but now is the time for deep emotional healing. So what this tells me is that the visualizations and engaging your own level of clairvoyance in visualizing can actually help you with your emotional healing. Maybe it is finding a nice meditation that describes how to release something emotionally and takes you through some vivid imagery for that. Usually a good guided meditation, they're going to guide you first to a safe space right? It's going to be a safe and comfortable space for you. And then they'll go into, the emotional release. So that may be something you want to incorporate. And maybe even as you're doing your own healing processes, or you're even getting into a place where you're releasing through tears, you're emotional, you're crying or dancing and expressing, perhaps you just set the intention that whatever symbols or visualizations need to come up for you will, and see what flies in for you as a part of that. So very interesting that visualization and clairvoyance comes up with emotional healing. This is very common too with people who do energy work and energy healing. As they're doing it in a session, they will often see like black blobs come out of people, nasty things, like, and it's just the emotional energy being healed and released from the person's body. It's old stuff that needs to come up and out, and it can come up in a lot of different weird looking kind of ways. And so maybe some of you have experienced that, either being on the table and having an energy session, or you've done energy healing, Reiki, healing touch, that kind of thing as well. Yeah, so seeing the form of some sort of energy being released is clairvoyance, because you're actually seeing some sort of color, shape, something. Let's go to the Sacred Traveler Oracle here for our clairvoyance. What else should we know? Ooh, this is beautiful here. Where am I? Okay, I'm going to put my cards there. We got taking shelter. The answers are within. Now, this card from this oracle deck, more than anything, reminds me of the Hermit card in the tarot deck. We have the lantern that the Hermit holds. Perhaps this is the Hermit, just slightly off screen here, off the card. And I think that if you've ever felt blocked with having visualizations or being able to visualize, it may be that you need to spend time turning off. So for others of you, some of you, it's starting with those visualization meditations that are guided, right? That's a good way in. Now, if you've already done that, you're like, oh, I've been doing that for years, right? And you're wanting to take your clairvoyance to the next level, you're wanting to get it more sharp, more clear, you're fine tuning, then the Hermit energy is coming in and saying, well, maybe in order to do that, we need to really get introspective here. And you know what's coming up for me? I don't know if this is available around the world, but we have those float tanks where you can go in, and it's like a saltwater solution. And you go in the tank and you do a float, and it's very quiet. It kind of removes the majority of the senses. So it's just you with your nervous system, with your brain, with your spinal cord, with the activity going on there. And sometimes people will have that, will trigger visualizations for people, almost being blocked out from the other senses. So some of you might be going deeper within yourself to find answers by tuning out everything. So in your case, maybe noise in a guided meditation may not be what you want to do. This can happen at different levels, or you're just being invited to test these different things and see what works for you. I know sometimes the little eye pillows or the little eye mask you can wear at night to block out the light. Sometimes that will help. If you can get yourself in a quiet space where the noise is low, you could just put a little eye mask on. If you don't have access to something like the sensory deprivation, the float tanks or something like that, and just having that, going inside, just really intending to go inside yourself and see what is illuminated from there, and see what the mind's eye shows you. I do think closing the eyes is very helpful. I think it signals to the brain that more of the subconscious awareness can come up and begin to um, teach us and show us things. So you may want to do that as well. That's very interesting. Okay, let's get a card from the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle here. I love this. I've been working with this deck and I can't put it down. It is so nice. Oh, there we go. They're flying out for this one. Okay, we've got forgiveness coming up. May you let it be. And it reminds me of that poem, let them, let it, just let it go, let it be. And it's a beautiful, like, aerial view of a beach. And you have the waves coming in, and then there's like the little footprints on the beach up here. Yeah, so when it comes to perhaps being blocked in being able to visualize and see things and being connected with that clairvoyance, because it literally is visual intuition. That's what it is. It's visual intuition at work. And so that can come in a lot of different ways, but if we have something that needs to be released, if there's something that we need to forgive, the universe is saying, hey, this might be blocking you from seeing everything. And I kind of felt like that in the collective reading with that justice energy coming up. There's kind of a tie back there. I feel like the clarity will come, but maybe those of you practicing on connecting more deeply with your clairvoyance and seeing and receiving, right? We got that rose opening up to receive, really opening up to the energies. We've got to forgive someone or something or ourselves. This could be a self-forgiveness as well. Letting something be, letting something go. It kind of feels like, to me, for some of you, it may be connected to something specific, that someone that you're forgiving, something that happened. For others, it feels more like the mind is attached to something, and it really is just kind of reprogramming the mind to let that go. And that will help you. It's almost like, for some of you, something is taking up your mental space or your spiritual space, that third eye space, to where as soon as you release that, it's like clear vision. It's like clouds and then a clear sky. That is what it feels like to me. We're going to get one more oracle card here. This is Healing with the Angels. This has really cool themes in it, different themes, and it's a very simple deck. I've talked about my take on angels. I feel like the angelic energy has been inverted and used against us a lot, right? And I feel that when I like to work with elevated energies, that I try to look for it within myself. How do I become a better version of myself? And that's how I work with that. Maybe not as traditional, like I did that at one point. I did angel readings. I studied all the angels, and then I just realized that it was very external. I was experiencing it very externally, outside of myself. Once again, calling on different angels and whatnot. And I don't do that anymore. If there's something that I admire about what I would consider an ascended energy or an ascended being, I look for that within, or the lack thereof. And that's where I do my work within myself. Tressa's here. Hello, Tressa. All right, let's get a card here. We got Harmony. Harmony. And we've got a beautiful orange energy, an orange and yellow energy. So could be what we need to forgive that is blocking us from our clairvoyance, from seeing clearly, is something to do with harmonizing our energies. Maybe that those more basal energies, energetic centers in our body, something wants to come into harmony here. And also, I would invite you, this is really interesting. I had to be silent for a minute there because I would invite you to visualize. So you've got one visualization here, one artist depiction of harmony, but what is harmony to you? And what I'm getting is that some of you may need to put that on a canvas, or you need to put that on paper, you need to draw. And what if you were to draw a vision, a picture of harmony, what would that look like to you? Now, it's interesting because I think this is going to carry us a little bit into the next reading, which is Clairaudience, harmony, also through music. Maybe, perhaps, by you listening to some sort of music. And, I would go with 432 hertz. They've changed up the hertz on the music. So you do want to kind of be mindful of what kind of music you listen to, because it will influence you, the energies. But maybe by listening to some sort of harmonizing energies, that it would help you visualize. So the music might be really important for some of you. All right. Wow. Interesting. Okay. Clairvoyance. That's clairvoyance. Very interesting energies coming up there. We're going to go ahead and get into Clairaudience next. So I'm getting the timestamp for Clairaudience. This is hearing, auditory intuition for us here. And we're going to go back to the tarot, and we're going to get the tarot card here from the major arcana. I've only got the major arcana here because I wanted to get the overall vibe that would help us with this. Hearing messages through sounds, words, music, or even inner dialogue. Okay, inner dialogue. Good morning, Karen. On the road to Moab. You're going to Moab, Utah. Oh my goodness, magical land. Those arches there. Gosh, I haven't been there since. I really need to get on the travel bus a little bit more. I went to Moab when I used to live in Flagstaff, Arizona, and Moab was about a 5-hour drive. I drove there. I arrived when the sun was rising over those arches. I felt like I was on a different planet. It was freaking incredible. I went biking. Woo! It was so fun. Yes, I'm excited for you. Just drink lots of water, because I do remember having to drink a lot of water while I was there. Trusses in Cincinnati, WKRP. Remember that? Old school. Sorry, I had a moment there. Cincinnati, you miss your palm trees. I bet. Yeah, Cincinnati's a lot different, isn't it? You're going to the Arches National Park, Karen. That's awesome. Ooh, I love traveling so much. Yes, have a great time. That is amazing. How fun is that? All right, Clairaudience. Now that we're all adding to our bucket list here. But for Clairaudience, I really like this card that we got. It's the Judgment card. And this, to me, gives us the theme that when it comes to Clairaudience, okay, this is you actually hearing things. This is about hearing a higher calling. This is you being called to your gifts, talents, and abilities, to yourself, to rise into your purpose. And so there may be some really important messages that some of you are going to be receiving. Like, maybe you could just be shopping in the grocery store and a certain song comes on that sparks a feeling in you, makes you feel a certain way, or it brings you back to a time where you were connected with something. Now, what's interesting is that I do get that some of you are sensitive to certain noises. And so it's a little challenging to be vulnerable here, to be vulnerable and to um, not want to cover the ears like this. Okay. Some sounds are not the best sounds. And I think some of you might have some wounding there. I don't know if there was waking up to loud sounds, having loud neighbors. We've had people blow off those M80s here, out of nowhere, it like freaks everybody out, right? And the neighborhood apps are like lighting up with like, what was that, right? So there may be a little bit of wounding and trauma here to do with sound. We'll see as we pull more oracle cards, but this would be to be able to heal that, clear it out, and really hear the inner calling and the purpose really hearing the universe call you to your purpose. It's like a clarion call, as they would call it. So, judgment card coming up here. And definitely with the trumpet, and maybe some of you are instrumentalists or you enjoy certain instruments. I love the cello, for example. The cello is one of my favorite instruments to listen to. And so perhaps if you pick an instrument, now for some of you, it may be one of the brass instruments, right? But whatever it is for you, brass, strings, whatever, maybe whatever pops into your mind, that's the one you should connect with and listen to help you connect in with your greater being, your purpose, or the next steps for your purpose, right? Because I do feel like with the extra noise, the noises we don't want to hear, we almost have to have like a protection to filter that out so that we can hear ourselves. And that's a big deal because a lot of times, especially like, Teresa is probably dealing with a lot of different sounds than she normally hears. Even the birds sound different in different places, right? So you'll travel somewhere and you'll be like, whoa, those birds don't quite sound like when I was in Hawaii. I was like, wow, these birds and the symphony of the nature around me sounded much different than it did here in Missouri. WKRP in Cincinnati. I'm not the only one. See, we have some Gen Xers here. It's an old show. So WKRP in Cincinnati was an old sitcom show that they used to show. But I did like the little jingle. I feel like in the 80s, they had so many good jingles for the shows. Sometimes I just go on and I listen to like the 80s, playlist for show tunes playlist or whatever it was. Like, yeah, and Dynasty, Dallas, they all had, they all had it. They all had it. You sang the theme song as you drove through downtown. Yeah, love it. Town to town, packing and unpacking. Na, 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 na. I don't remember the words exactly, but it would come back to me pretty quick. All right, let's get an animal message here. Messages from the animal spirit guides for Clairaudience. Ooh, we got the weasel. Pop goes the weasel. But it says here, be silent. So silence is important. Pay attention and simply observe with your eyes, ears, and physical feelings what is happening inside and all around you. So for Clairaudience, the message here is be silent. Find the silent places, right? That may not be immediate for some of you. Some of you are on the go. Some of you are busy talking to people and doing other things. But this message says be silent. Be silent. Yeah. And also, I'm getting for some of you, there may be a little bit of tinnitus where you get like the ringing in the ears. When I end up getting ringing in one ear or the other, just that short term, for like the short term, I just try to pay attention to where my mind was at the time. And usually it's in one or the other ear. And I can say, oh gosh, that's in my left ear. What am I thinking about at the time? Where's my mind at? And others of you, there could be other messages in those sensations for you. I'm also getting for some of you pressure changes in the ears. You're very sensitive to pressure changes in your ears, like on an airplane. Karen says, when I'm old and forget my kids' names, I still remember the theme song to The Greatest American Hero. That's funny. I love it. Yes, I hear you on that. I know, like commercials from when I was young, little jingles. I can remember those, but yeah, I can't remember what I just ate for lunch, right? Girl Gone Duffner says, hi, good day to you. Can you get one free reading? You can, but it'll be on Sunday evening. So I have a live Q&A coming up this Sunday evening, 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. Drop in at that time, drop your question in, and I will do reading for you, okay? So today it's a collective hangout. It's a casual chill hangout. But yeah, if you come on Sunday evening, and then I do it every other Sunday. So if you miss this Sunday, just skip a Sunday and then come back again. I think in June I'm doing 3 live Q&As. So yeah. And the earlier you come in, the closer to 7, drop your question in. The chances are I'll get to it because we do get kind of busy in there. Ashley says, yes, me too. I never thought to think about what I'm thinking during that time, right? Yes. Yeah, it's about maybe catching yourself. And when we get the little buzz in our ears, it's that clairaudience telling us, pay attention to the thought you're thinking, pay attention to what's going on. What are you doing in that moment? What thought is passing through? There might be something extra that you need to hear. And I think Weasel here, little Weasel says, listen to me. Yeah, be silent, listen, perceive with, your ears, hear the silence. What is coming through the silence? Let's go to here to the Sacred Traveler Oracle for our Clairaudience folks here and get an impression on what we need to know. This one definitely had some power to it. And it's distant thunder, clear the air. Yeah. Yeah. For some of you here, this is reminding me of the Wheel of Time series here, and that some of you listening to the wind, listening to a thunderstorm could also be very helpful. So the next time it's a windy day or you hear the wind howling, or you're able to listen to the different sounds that come through a thunderstorm, I feel like that is an intense time where definitely messages can come through from your greater being, from the universe. So you may hear something in the rumble of the thunder. You may hear something in the wind. It will begin talking to you. All right. And what's that called? I need a sip of tea here. Hang on. When you work with air and people can they practice, it's on the tip of my tongue, but it's where people practice moving air. Like they see if they can cause a breeze with just their energy, right? Not like using a fan or anything. It's not, I don't know why I can't remember it right now because I've definitely looked at it. Aerokinesis, that's it. Aerokinesis. Some of you might want to look into aerokinesis a little bit. You do work to move the air with your energy, but I wonder if for some of you that would speak back to you somehow, since we're dealing with clairaudience. But also, perceiving natural sounds with your ears. Like perhaps it's I know I feel this way. So, we think about when I want to relax, I want to get off the screen, I want to go out into nature, I want to take a walk, I'm going to ground myself. Sometimes we forget that when we get out in those natural spaces where you don't hear a lot of the buzz of activity and city sounds, but you're more immersed in the natural energy, it actually clears your ears. It actually is a sound clearing as well. You're reconnecting in with the natural primal sounds. And instead of the city noise or the buzzes and, the constant dings of notifications and things like that. So I'm getting that too. Like a nature walk is a very healthy thing to do, but it also is a cleansing for the ears. And to have a silent walk through the forest or the park, wherever you can get, would be really, really helpful for those of you practicing on up-leveling your clairaudience or just paying more attention to it. I think it really is with this one. I get a lot of putting more attention on it. All right, let's get a Sea Soul Journeys Oracle card here. This one's popping out. Ooh, very interesting. I would kind of feel like we would get this one in a different reading, but these come out this way for a reason. And this says, held. May you feel the ocean's caress. So I know we are going into Clairsentience next. So I think some of these clairs are kind of overlapping into one another. And Clairsentience is where you have the feelings, May you feel the ocean's caress. As you're feeling it, though, if you're getting to this space, think about the ocean waves. And ocean waves, the wax and the wane of the moon and the tide coming in and out as it flows over the shore and the sounds it makes, that may be something that you would like to tune into as well. I know a lot of times I've used ocean waves to help me fall asleep. If I have trouble falling asleep, I'll put that on that sound of the ocean waves. And so that may be the case for some of you. It may help you feel safe to tune in more to your hearing and to your audience. And yes, this one actually isn't the big waves. It's like a gentle lapping, more like what you might get at like a lake. Because I mean, when I go to the ocean, it's usually waves rolling in, but sometimes it does go a little softer, right? And so, since it's saying caress as well, that sound may put you in the place of you're hearing the caress of like the water just lapping slowly. And then what do you hear beyond that? So, this could be some of your portals into hearing more through hearing a softer sound first and then getting into something more powerful. So that's a great point. Yeah, it's very little ripples of sound. And you think about sound waves, they make ripples. All right, let's get a card from the Healing with the Angels. All right. One fell out. I'm going to go with both of them because one fell out like right before I was even shuffling. With the Clairaudience, I think we got guardian angels. So I'm going to say for some of you, this is mediumship kind of skills. Like you hear the voices of people who are beyond the veil, who have passed to the other side. In this particular deck, it is an angel deck, so it's depicted like that, but I get a very big spirit guide sense. I get a very big like ancestor sense here as well. So some of you are in a position to be hearing the voices of your guides, your holy people. They call it holy medicine people, right? In Native American lore, right? Or your own, the voice of your own greater self, your higher self, your greater being, your guardian, how the universe provides for you. Okay. I really don't feel like, for the most part, these voices are um outside of us when it comes to our own greater being. There's something that comes from within us, but we have a perception that we hear it from the outside. All right. So it could sound like I'm also getting whispering. Some of you hear whispering, but you may not be able to make out the words, but you hear whispering sometimes. So let me know. Have you heard whispering? Right. But there's nobody in your house, but you hear this whispering. All right. That's a mediumship skill. And then we got celebration. And I think this is having more fun with sound. I'm getting like, maracas and drums and music, a music sensation, a musical sensation like that, that's more vibrant, enjoying those really rich tones that come from music and the different instruments here. So I really like that celebration. And we got a little representation of the full moon there. So, yeah. So, anyway, we got two angel cards for that one for some reason, but that was meant to be. That's our Clairaudience. So, working on that. You may find you want to just kind of experiment with these different clairs and connect with them more deeply when you are in meditation. But let's get into Clairsentience. So, this is clear feeling. This is how you feel. Emotional or physical sensations. This happens to me often when I am doing readings. When I am doing readings, I often, and let me get this timestamp or I'll forget. When I'm doing readings, I'll have physical sensations during the reading, and then afterwards they're completely gone. Like no recollection physically of ever having the sensation to begin with. And so this is a big one for me. This is also, you walk into a room, you can sense the energy, you sense people's emotions, you can sense the energy coming off of people, you perceive it in a certain way, you have a good or a not so good feeling about it. And that is speaking to your intuition. That is speaking to that level of intuition where you're feeling it. So let me know if you feel like you are clairsentient and sometimes you feel things, or have you ever just been around a certain person and you either feel really good or not so good. That could be another thing. Oh, my voice is wanting to clear for some reason, but we're going to let that happen. If you are here but you haven't put a like on the video, make sure to put a like. Your comments are always most welcome as well. Karen's talking about the sounds of the ocean, saying shh. Yes, I love that. The stillness. Now look at this for our Clairsentience. And I don't know why I'm choking up for this one. Maybe something's being cleared for me, possibly. Because I think sometimes I get overwhelmed with other people's energies. And I just went to a big graduation the other night. Woo, there were a lot of people in a big auditorium thing. So maybe this is my little personal message of clearing myself, but this is Aquarius energy here. This is Aquarius. This is beautiful humanitarian energy, but I do think that when it comes to feeling, there's a lot of ickiness to be cleared out right now, especially if you're tuning into collective energies. And sometimes as a reader, I do get that, there's a little stickiness left over afterwards from that. And this is giving me a real starseed kind of feeling that some of you with this gift of clairsentience, where you can really feel when, other humans' energy, other beings' energy. You can feel the energy coming off animals, plants, all of the living things. I'm having a tough time with this one. I think I have a lot of release to do. This might be my homework for myself today. This is about coming here with clairsentience means that you came here to connect. You did come here to connect with people. You came here to connect with substance. You came here to connect with depth. You didn't come to have surface level. I'm getting a lot of you surface level conversations, like surfacey, fakey conversations, no good. Like when you're in environments and in groups where it's just all fake small talk, that's not your thing. That's not your thing at all. You like depth, you like richness, you like to know how the cosmos is connected to the earth. You're having a more potent experience, and that's what's coming through here as well. Like enough with the small talk, enough talk about the weather. We'll go outside if we want to know what that is. What I'm interested in is what makes the water flow, what makes the sky glow. There's a depth and a richness that's really coming in with this. Being around people, it can really drain you. So also you see this is a very vulnerable, she could maybe even take a bath in the water. I'm getting bathing might help some of you. I know I do salt baths, and I use certain scents as like to anchor and ground me or to clear my energy. So some of you may need to, take a bath or have a nice swim just to kind of get yourself clear here. So because there may be some gummed up energies that come off of other people. And this can also be a tricky one. Like if your living space is really close to other people's living spaces, like in an apartment or a condo or something like that, I do feel like some of you may feel a bit closed in or sandwiched in this energy where you can feel it, even though there's walls that separate, it's a little too close. And so you may have to do a little extra work to clear this energy out. The Aquarian energy, it's an air sign, so you have the clearing from the air, but the Aquarian figure here, she's the water bearer. So she gets the water in the vase, right? And works with the water energy. So this is a water and air elemental piece of advice here, to use that for clearing your energies if you're picking up those feelings from others. And I think it's, for situations when I go into them, I always set up my protection, my energetic protection. But even with that, I am perceiving and observing and hearing so much. Like we were at this graduation, so many little talking voices, the clapping, the bang, screaming and banging and roaring. And it is what it is. It's a celebration, right? But that's a lot. Like, that's a lot of like, all that stuff is kind of hitting your field, your auric field. And it's like, it's kind of like having this protection around you, but there's a hailstorm out there. And that's what I sense. So we're being asked to kind of allow ourselves to go into the Aquarian energy, some of the softer energies of air and water, to help cleanse ourselves so that we can continue to perceive, because we want this. We want to be able to feel, okay, I'm walking that way on the street and I don't want to go around that corner, or I don't want to turn right. I need to go left. The energy over there doesn't feel right. Now, here where I live, there's a lot of, I can perceive a lot of the energy of the land, because we have a lot of Native American sacred land and sites here that, we know what happened. Colonization here in the United States, it wasn't pretty. Slavery, it wasn't pretty. There are places that hold this energy too. So it'll be really interesting. We have several of you traveling right now. What are the feelings and the physical sensations that you get about the place? Like, is it more like Moab, mystical and magical, or is it more busy and noisy like Cincinnati, right? And so you're going to be feeling a certain vibe from an area. So I'm getting, for travel, for those of you traveling, good time to practice this, because you will be able to see distinctions between where you live, where that is, how the people feel different, how the vibe feels different, what's going on there. Some of that may have to do with the land and what has happened on the land energetically and through the ages, right? Very interesting stuff. This is really interesting. Have any of you been feeling like, I know the astrology says it, but have you been feeling like, or have you felt in the past that you can sense earthquakes, even when they're not in your location, but they're like across the world? Have you ever had a sense of like, you do feel that? Because I do feel like some of you are that in tune that you can feel like volcanic activity below the surface and earthquake activity, maybe the plates moving, the ocean vents, things like that. Some of you have that level of sensitivity. So I'm wondering, has that come up for any of you where you're like, I've done that before. Like, I've sensed, that something's kind of shaken up. And then the next day I wake up and I saw there was an earthquake in Haiti or something like that. Have any of you ever had that? You can also have it with events. Like, sometimes events are happening. I know the day of the Olympic bombing, was it the Olympic? No, Boston Marathon bombing. I think it was a Boston Marathon bombing. Whatever day that was, one of those bombings, I was uneasy all day. I'm like, something bad's gonna happen. Something doesn't feel right here. Like, and then my friend, we were at like a Wendy's or something, because we were traveling on our way somewhere, and she left her purse at a Wendy's, and one of the employees stole her purse. And they found it, and they just like pretended like no one turned it in and everything like that. But she knew, because other patrons or another worker saw the woman with the purse, and she's like, this is what you were picking up, this is the bad thing. And I was like, this is bad and it sucks, and we had to file a police report, and it was gross and everything, but this isn't it. Like, and then later that night we were out with friends, and they had TV screens at the restaurant we were at, and the marathon bombing came up. I'm like, that's it. That's what happened. Namira says, you feel very restless sometimes when there are earthquakes, or you can't sleep. Yeah, like you might be like, why couldn't I sleep last night? And then, that just happens to come across your desk. Oh, there was an earthquake, something was moving. I know animals can perceive. Cats especially are really good at perceiving that. Tressa says, yesterday I struggled with the energies of the city, such heaviness and sadness compared to what I'm used to. Yeah, it probably helps you feel really grateful for where you live, That's probably helpful. It kind of puts it into perspective of like, wow, yeah, city energy, whew, it's in the States here. I don't know about the Netherlands, but the city energy here is compared to like the more rural country areas, there's definitely differences in that vibe. Now, for our clairsentience, we got the mouse as our little animal spirit guide here. And it says, you're overlooking some important details. Pay close attention to what's going on. And we have the little mouse, and it's kind of looking like, is there a cat around? Is there a predator? What do I, is a person coming, right? And so we're being told to kind of feel our way into the energy around us right now. Are we missing something? Or is there just something we need to pay closer attention to? And what is that vibe? Because I feel like it's something smaller that could be overshadowed by the other bigger energies. With the mouse here, it's something smaller. It's a detail, something we're meant to look at. And I kind of feel like